Unscripted.
While it's quite clear that the Xbox Series X has somewhat of an advantage over the PlayStation 5 in terms of raw, brute power, a lot of people are underestimating exactly what the PlayStation 5 is capable of from its own standpoint, just being so much of a well-rounded console that developers cannot stop talking about. And Digital Foundry did a video recently, and they were talking about the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X, and they had some very interesting takes. And it was actually an interview that Digital Foundry was doing with the actual developer, and they were talking about the differences and things that we can expect from both consoles and the platforms going forward, which I found to be very fascinating, and I think that it breaks it down fairly easily on just what to expect and maybe what not to expect from these consoles. And again, I think that nobody would ever even doubt that the Xbox Series X is the most powerful console. Like that, get that out of your mind if you're thinking that otherwise, because it's just not true. The Xbox Series X is by far the most powerful console by 16 to 18%. So really not as bad as we've seen in some other instances, but I'm going to break down what was said. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dissect it, if you will. It should be a very interesting video. What's up, everybody? The Crapgamer here with Crapgamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really do appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. I would appreciate that as well. It helps out the channel, and it means an awful lot to me on a personal level. Thank you so much. Now, with that being said, if you're looking to support a small channel like mine, you like the videos, just like the video. That's all I ask. Honestly, take a minute to consider subscribing. Hit the bell so you're notified of everything as soon as it drops. All appreciate it. Shout out to all the old subscribers, new subscribers, everybody in between. You are fantastic, and it's always such a great time chopping it up with you guys on PlayStation Network, talking to you guys. If you message me there or Xbox Live or Twitter, I will respond, I promise. People are blown away. Trust me, I'm not some big YouTuber with a big ego or anything like that, man. If you guys take the time to message me, I'll respond as fast as I possibly can. I even have the apps installed on my phone, so I get them pretty quickly. I respond pretty quickly now. It's all good. So anyway, so they were talking about the differences between the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S, and whether or not the Xbox Series S would actually hold back the PlayStation 5. And there is a little bit of bad news when it comes to that, because it turns out that, you know, that is in fact the case. You know, the Xbox Series S is something that they don't worry about specifically like today, but in a couple of years from now, it's something that they're saying could be a bit of a problem and could definitely hold back the PlayStation 5 when it comes to third-party games and things like that. Now, here's the thing. Developers, right? The developers are gonna be able to get the most out of the consoles. Look, I understand it, right? I went hard. Other PlayStation fans went hard on Xbox with the whole idea of supporting, you know, the current gen for years to come, right? I get it. That kind of sucks. Then Sony went and kind of allowed 3 games or so to do the same thing. I don't really particularly like that. I understand it's a business, though, so from that perspective, you can kind of understand it. Now, when it comes to how the games look, had Miles Morales, or, you know, if Horizon Forbidden West or Sackboy, well, I mean, Sackboy's neither here nor there. It's a platformer. I can't really understand how one way or the other that's going to be held back. But, you know, with stuff like Miles Morales and of certainly Horizon Forbidden West seem like they could be held back by old hardware. You know, we've seen a situation where graphically, at least, that's not going to be the case. Like, Miles Morales looked fantastic, and, you know, that's something that we can't really take for granted. Now, if it had come out looking like Halo Infinite or Halo Midfinite, as we like to call it, then there probably would have been a much bigger problem. Now, from a design standpoint, it is true, you know, you definitely need that, you know, those games to be built from the ground up on the newer consoles for them not to be held back from the actual gameplay aspect. But what they're talking about here is very fascinating in the terms that the PlayStation 5 has the most, supposedly, according to this developer, the absolute most mature software developer kit that they've ever used, while on the Xbox side, the Xbox Series X in particular is coming in hot with their developer kit, and that's a problem, and that's the main reason why we haven't really seen anything running on the kit, which I think is something that, you know, is going to be a bit of a problem going forward, because here we are. If you guys think about this, okay, this is unlike any other generation that we've seen. right? And I'm just being honest about this stuff. You know, I would have loved to sit there and said, well, you know what? This isn't going to be a problem, but maybe the pandemic is a bit of a problem with some of this stuff, because we are seeing a lot of these issues come up, like this, for instance, right? And I mentioned this the other day. The Xbox Series S is a Trojan horse, and what I mean by that is they want to get that into your house. The problem is there's such a small amount of storage space in that you're only going to be able to get a few games on it. Now they're hyping it's a digital only console, meaning it's going to run out of space really quickly, especially if you get into Game Pass. Now, with that being said, they held off on announcing the prices of the actual expansion kits until after the pre-orders pretty much sold out, okay? And then the expansions come out and they're $220 US plus tax, meaning, you know, you got to add another $12 to $14 on top of that. So, like, if I wanted to buy them, $232 for just for a measly 1 terabyte. Now, here's the thing. I like to have a bunch of games installed, right? I have 16 terabytes on my Xbox One X, and I have, I think, 4 or 6 terabytes on my PS4 Pro. Hopefully that's not fried. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out if it still works when I get it back. But yeah, so there is that. You know, there's that instance also. And we also learned some very interesting things about the PlayStation 5 as well. You know, the PlayStation 5 solid-state drive, for instance, it can install games in segments. Storage can be expanded with an off-the-shelf drive, hopefully the third-party ones. The Pulse 3D audio wireless headset. There's a lot of different things. The PSVR is fully compatible with the PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5 is compatible with the overwhelming majority of PS4 titles, 99.9% supposedly. So that's a fantastic bit of news as well. There are some interesting bits of FUD, which stands for fear, uncertainty, doubt, where, you know, people are trying to say, hey, you know, you can't really play them, or they're charging it behind a paywall or whatever. Now, Sony's far from perfect, that's for sure. And the whole Spider-Man fiasco, charging for the upgraded version of that, you know, that is kind of lame in my opinion. But I think that, you know, the people that are sitting there saying that they're charging you for backwards compatibility is 100% just not true. And, you know, hopefully we get more of a clearer picture later on. But anyway, back to this, which I will link this interview. It is very interesting because they were talking about the frame rate situation as well. So, and I've kind of covered this, but they sort of mentioned how, you know, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PlayStation 5, how they're able to achieve 120 frames per second, how the frame rates are going to be there for everybody that kind of, you know, has the TV and the proper setup to run these things. And that's something that I think a lot of people should be excited about, because if you think about one of the main things going into the next generation, that the frame rate thing was supposed to be up on the biggest type of mantle. Okay, so they also mentioned how, you know, the Xbox Series S is going to be 1080p on a lot of stuff, as well as probably not going to be able to achieve everything that they were hoping to achieve with it, and in a couple years it could be extremely outdated as well. So, you know, we'll have to see how that works out, if that's actually the truth or not, or how that works out. I don't think that it's a terrible console. I think that it's a fine console for people that, you know, for people that are on a budget, or maybe you're trying to get it for some kids or whatever. I think that that'd be a fine console. Just be aware of the situation with the storage space, because a lot of people might not realize it. I can still remember back in the day, people buying that cheaper Xbox 360 arcade version, and, you know, you had to end up buying that expensive hard drive that was added on by Microsoft later, and it wasn't even that much later, right? It's like you basically needed it at some point later on. You needed certain games required hard drives, so yeah, you couldn't even play them without it. So yeah, it was a little bit of an interesting situation where you had to have them, and those things were super expensive, and these things are super expensive as well. You can see why they didn't put a full terabyte in there, because if they would have added the other 500 gigs, it probably would have raised the cost by $100. And this is what I was saying. This is why I was pretty much right on, and nobody will ever give me credit for it. But I said they wanted to come in at $299. If they would have put a full terabyte in there, it would have been $399, and then you would have had a console the same price as the PlayStation 5 with half the power, less memory, and, you know, it would have been a much worse situation for Microsoft, and they even mentioned that. So yeah, you know, I feel like that I knew that the price was going to be pretty much 500 gigs were going to be probably about 110 bucks. So yeah, basically that kind of worked out how I figured it would. Now that's not to say that Sony's solution is going to be cheaper, but you get a little bit more to work with there, and I think that's a little bit easier pill to swallow. You know, you can maybe wait a little bit, shuffle some things around. Like I do have, you can move games to and store them on a standard USB 3.0 external, and then move them back onto the one that you have on there, so that you can actually, you know, play them. But still, I just feel like that seems like a big hassle, you know, but it's going to be easier for me to do that than say re-download something, because my internet is not great. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think. I will link this in the description below. Please stay safe, happy, and healthy. As always, thank you for taking time out to watch another one of my videos. Please take a minute to consider subscribing. You are amazing. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Rack 'em up. Game on, my friends. Game on. Crapgamer out.
Unscripted.